Hi guys, thanks for tuning in again. And by now, you know, I like to keep you guessing on where I'm going to be filming these videos. So obviously I'm still in my porch, but it's nighttime, so it's a different vibe. But I actually didn't plan this. I didn't intend to do this at night. The day just kind of got away from me. It was a busy day and I don't want to film this tomorrow, so I'm doing it now. And my girls are actually helping a lot by making dinner while I film this. So the advantage of having some teenage girls. So anyway, today I wanted to talk about a weight loss stall, and we hear a lot about it in the context of breaking the stall and getting out of it. But I wanted to focus more on how we can prevent a stall in the first place. Now, we can't completely prevent hitting a stall. It's impossible, especially if you have a lot of weight to lose. You're going to experience a stall and probably several of them. There's just no way to go around that. And the reason is because our bodies crave a balance. They don't like it when we're changing things up all the time. And actually, the flip side is also true. I'm sure you know people that are skinny and have a hard time putting on weight. I actually used to be one of those people. I was always really skinny when I was a kid growing up. I actually was teased about how skinny I was. And when I became a teenager, I filled out a little bit, but I was still really thin. I sometimes used to get a size 0 jeans because a size 2 would be too big. And it was really hard. It was really hard to put on weight. And I felt like, other than forcing food down my throat, even though I would try to consume more food, I was young, my metabolism was burning constantly. I was very active, and it was just really hard for me to hold on to that weight. So yeah, kind of ironic now, but but so anyway, I say that to say that our bodies want balance, and when it gets used to a certain weight, it wants to stay there, whether that weight is healthy for us or not. So how do we avoid a weight loss stall to begin with? We can't avoid it completely. As I mentioned earlier, we have to get comfortable with the fact that stalls are going to be part of our journey. Specifically, if you have a long way to go. If you only have, 10 or 20 pounds, you might be able to reach your goal without hitting a significant stall. But for the rest of us, you're probably going to experience at least a couple. So if you talk to one expert, they'll have an opinion on this, and you talk to another expert and they'll have a completely different take on it. So what I'm going to share is just my opinion and kind of where I land on this issue after researching for the past 3 months in general, just like health and fitness, and talking to my husband, who, although he's not a health professional, fitness has been a big part of his life, and he's a couple of years older than me and still wears all the same clothes that he was wearing when we were dating and before we were married. So, and we're going on 24 years this summer. So he knows a thing or two about fitness, and sometimes I talk to him and get feedback. So this is just kind of where I've landed on this issue. Of course, do your own research and, figure out what works best for you. Now that I got that out of the way so I don't get sued, I'll share with you my thoughts on this. So the main thing you can do is not start your journey at a very low calorie deficit. So in other words, let's say you start your journey at 1400 calories a day. You're going to lose weight with that because your body is most likely burning a lot more than that. So with a 1400 calorie deficit, you're definitely going to see the number on the scale go down, and things are going to be going great, and you're going to be happy and excited and motivated, and things are going to be moving in the right direction for a couple of weeks, maybe even a couple of months, just depending on how much weight you had to lose. But eventually you're going to get to the point where your body has had enough. Remember, our bodies don't do well with change. It'll fight tooth and nail to keep everything the same. So unless we do something drastic and completely override what our body wants, you won't continue to lose weight. So what most people do is they cut the calories even further, and they'll go down to 1200 calories, which is pretty low. That's pretty low. And it'll work for a time and you'll be happy, but it won't last. Eventually, you'll hit the same cycle again. Those calories will still be too much, and you're basically getting to the point where you're eating what a toddler would eat. Maybe you're eating less than 1,000 calories a day. And that's just honestly a recipe for disaster, because it's going to really mess up your metabolism. You'll mess up your hormones, and your sleep cycle will be off, and just a whole host of things are not going to function properly if you're not fueling your body. So, aside from your body just not functioning properly, if you're not getting the calories that your body actually needs, the workouts you do, you're going to feel pretty tired. You're not going to be able to give it as much energy as you would have. So, those same workouts that you were doing 3 months ago, maybe now they're just not having the same effect. Maybe you can't even do them. Maybe you're getting tired and you can't even complete the workouts that you were doing comfortably. And meanwhile, you're thinking you should be getting stronger and now you're feeling weaker. And getting yourself out of that situation is going to be hard. It's not impossible, but it's going to be hard, and it'll require you increasing your calories very slowly. If you increase too much, you're going to gain a lot of weight quickly, and you obviously would want to avoid that. So you'd have to try to increase your calories very slowly over the course of a couple of weeks until you're back to maybe where you started and probably even higher than that. That's where it gets complicated, and there's nutritionists and, fitness experts, obesity experts. That's really where their expertise comes into play on just kind of figuring out what specific advice they would have to offer to you in that situation. I'm just kind of giving general advice here. So, tip number one is simply just not starting your journey at a really low calorie deficit. So, I started mine at 1600, and honestly, I kind of felt that that was a little too high, but I was reading these things, and one part of me was like, okay, this makes sense. And then the other part of me, which has been the one that's been dieting by, starvation diets and, the binge eating and all that cycle, wanted to cut a lot more because I wanted to make sure I was seeing results and seeing results quickly. But I stuck to 16 calories, and aside from the fact that I've gained weight for the past 2 weeks, but that has nothing to do with the 1600 calories. That was because I for sure was overeating this past week. But aside from that, I've actually been having very good, consistent weight loss. And the proof is you can look at my other videos and see. But I was happy with that, even though I was a little bit apprehensive about not starting at a lower calorie deficit. So start at a good calorie deficit. Tip number two is consider calorie cycling. And that's just what they call it now, but it basically just means being in a calorie deficit for a certain amount of time, and then maybe for a week going up in calories to like your maintenance calorie deficit. So for instance, if you started at 1600, you would stay at 1600 calories for a couple of weeks. Some people say 8 weeks, some people say, 12 weeks. That would depend on what you want to do, however you decide to do it. But so let's say you start at 1600 and you stay at that for about 3 months, and then you have a week where you actually eat at your maintenance calories. So maybe your maintenance calories are 1800 calories, or maybe they're even 2000, depending on, how active you are. Then after that week, you would go back down to your calorie deficit of 1600 calories. And the purpose of this is simply to keep your body guessing, so it doesn't know what's happening. And it's almost like you have to be really sneaky with those fat cells so they don't know what hit them. So this is actually a very effective way of avoiding a stall, because although you're in a calorie deficit, you're having this week of maintenance. So you're not overeating to the point of maybe gaining weight like I did these past 2 weeks, but just eating a little bit more than like 200 calories more than your normal calorie deficit. And my final tip, tip number three is, and before I say, I know you're going to get annoyed hearing this because you keep hearing it everywhere, but it really is important, is making sure you're getting enough protein. And I know we hear it constantly, protein, 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 but it's so important. It really is so important. And the reason is because when you're losing weight, your body doesn't just lose fat cells. You're going to lose muscle. That's just part of it. And protein will help negate some of that muscle loss. It's super important that you keep the muscles you have, because muscles burn fat. And if you're in a calorie deficit and you're burning through your fat stores in addition to burning through your muscle, your metabolism is just not going to work very effectively. So the more muscle you have, the more your metabolism is working, and the more your metabolism works, the more fat you burn. It's so important, guys. It's so important. And I really try to make protein a big part of what I focus on, because aside from the fact that of everything I just said with keeping your muscle, it helps with keeping you full. So it's really an important part to your weight loss journey. And actually, I thought of one more tip, and that is strength training. Again, something that we know we should be doing and something that we hear people encouraging us to do all the time, but a lot of us don't do it. I'm 100% guilty of that. I've been talking about wanting to strength train for 3 months, and I just recently started doing it. So I'm preaching to myself with this, but strength training is so important because it'll build muscle, it'll help keep our metabolism going, and it'll help us burn fat in the long run. It's got ladies, we have to do it. I know it's hard. You don't know where to start, but you just have to start. And I'm going to link a video in the description box that someone shared with me, and it's what I'm doing, and I love it. So we really don't have an excuse. We just have to start. But again, I'll link the one that someone shared with me. It's great. I love it, and you might too. And I just want to say that I really do love making these videos because the best part for me is connecting with you in the comment section. And I love getting to know you and getting to know your story and bonding over our weight loss journey. So thank you for being active and communicating with me on there. I absolutely love it. So if you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so and let me know in the comments how your journey is. I absolutely will reply. You guys know I do. And I will cheer you on. So thanks again for being here and just helping to make my journey a lot more fun and encouraging me in the comment section. I really do appreciate it. And I hope you have an amazing weekend and you get to spend some time with friends and family. I'll see you on Monday for another meal prep video. Bye. To make my journey a lot more fun.